You went from a show of 1 to 300 employees in like, what, 10 years?
The thing you don't have a process for is going to consume all your time, and time is money.
How did you start? Did you have a partner? Did you start it by yourself?
It started the process of saying, hey, well, if someone is willing to pay for it, let's at least entertain it.
We don't have in our country aspirations to be a contractor.
I said, man, I can do this anywhere. I promise you. To be great at something, you got to try.
All right, guys, you are here for the treat today. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I have very, very cool interview. Let me introduce you to my guest. His name is Kevin. He has built one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing company in the country. He has sold that company to Fortune 500 company, and he is in residential. You heard it right, not commercial, not storm restoration, residential roofing contractor. Kevin, welcome to the show.
That's nice to be here, Dmitry.
Did I say anything wrong? Like fastest growing, residential?
I would agree, yeah.
Let's go all the way to the beginning. How did you start your roofing journey? What's your background, and when did you join the roofing world?
Well, as I tell the story, roofing found me. I was, like a lot of entrepreneurs, I've tried a lot of different things. I graduated college mid-90s. Business degree, and sought out to make my mark on the world, and was in different fields, different finance, banking, mortgage, taxes. So tried a lot of things, and then the big recession hit back in 07, 08, and that's when a lot of people in different industries, we kind of had to figure things out differently. So I would say I was brought to the industry at a low point in my life. If you've ever been in one of those points when you find something that kind of wakes you up and helps you get out of it, it's pretty cool. So I got in about, I'd say 12, 13 years ago by default. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time, and I was able to kind of start and build everything and just kind of do it the way I wanted to do it and the way I thought made the most sense for today, right? I think that's, one of the craziest things is there's all these ways of doing business that we all have, right? You have they're called rules of engagement. And I always thought it was funny that in certain industries, specifically home service, is that we still have these traditional rules of engagement. Like, I gotta get, my grandpappy's grandpappy said I gotta get 3 estimates. And so when I got in, we had that, and then there was a digital revolution going on as well, where, there were companies that were able to kind of help you find customers and grow your business. So that's kind of got in by default at what I consider a pivotal time.
How did you start? Did you have a partner? Did you start it by yourself? Like,
basically, I had a business partner we had other businesses with. He was also a general contractor. While we were doing other business, he got his roofing license simply to offer roofs for the people he was doing a remodel. Never thought of it as a separate business. When some other businesses didn't pan out that we were in, he asked if I wanted to, didn't really know what he felt bad for me, I think. And he asked if I wanted to maybe come sell roofs. I had some in-home experience, and that's how I got in, man. He was maybe doing a roof maybe every week, every other week. It wasn't a business, it was part of his overall construction business. And I got in, and there were some online lead sources that you could buy potential customers, and the rest is history.
Wow. How fast did you grow? Like, so you started, what, 2008, 9?
Yeah.
What did you do first couple years? Describe to me business early on.
My very first month in the business, I didn't know anything about the business. I was able to purchase, I think, 10 leads. Of those leads, a lead is nothing more than someone who thinks they might want something, right? I was able to schedule 9 appointments, and this is retail. I don't know anything. I never even heard of insurance restoration probably until about year 5. So straight retail. So I had to figure out how these 9 people were going to buy a roof from me, not having any experience at all. And so, you do like, you act as if, right? We all say that. And I sold 8 my first month. So to me, getting in front of people, talking to them and convincing them that I'm going to do a good job for you was easy for me. It just had to find enough people that wanted to listen to me.
You went from show of 1 to 300 employees in like what, 10 years?
Very quickly. Yeah.
300 employees.
Very quickly.
What's the secret to success to double your roofing business every year?
You know, there's no secrets because there's so many little things you got to do right. But a lot of people talk about scaling. Like scaling, it's a buzzword, but no one really understands what that means. So what I was able to figure out was that I would scale through revenue, and what that means is, if I wanted to go and grow, I could, you can only grow so much in your own market, right? So if to scale, you got to be able to say, can I take this and do it there? So for me, I said, well, it's revenue. I mean, busy work is busy work. So in retail, like once you own your market, and there's a cap. There's only so much you can get out of one market. You want to take your show on the road, so you got to have to figure it out. And the benefit of, and I think I said it before, the digital revolution, was you were able to kind of forecast based on some previous data that somebody has. And so when we would scale in these other markets, we really knew that. We knew that for every dollar spent, this is where we can trend on being.
You have to have a solid process.
You do.
Like what's the most important thing to have in place before you open second location? Because I see many people open and they close it because they were not ready for it.
Well, I mean, that's such a tough question. There really is not a formula, but you definitely have to know every part of the process. You have to have a process for every part of the process. So what that means in my company, no one does too many things. And I learned very quickly that if I would have someone, manage something and they were managing 8 things, inevitably the one thing I said, hey, what's going on here? They said, I didn't have time. They had 7 other excuses. So we realized very quickly that we call it compartmentalized. So everyone had a responsibility. So once you have people have specific responsibilities, and such as scheduling and permitting, our sales guys don't run their own jobs. They're salespeople. They don't need, that's busy work. So you have project managers and supervisors. Once you have like the template built out of what that role entails, you build the process. And the process is 5 to 7 steps that someone really can't screw up. So you kind of have to build those in all your little departments. And warranty, you saw warranty today, as a matter of fact. You got to have like a process that is built out specifically for that particular thing. Because what happens is inevitably when you scale in these other markets, what's going to happen is the thing you don't have a process for is going to consume all your time, and time is money. And you want to get there quickly and do it. So it's really having a process for everything. And when I brought one of my leaders who was still running my business down, the first thing you can tell if someone has a process is, let me see your training manual. Let me see your sales manual. Let me see your admin manual. Do you have a step-by-step way of doing it, or is it anecdotal? Well, this is the way we do it, right? Just someone saying, hey, I told this is how you do it. Oh, ask Earl at the shop. He told us how to do it.
How do you build it? Like, how do you build the and how much time did you spend on building the process versus everything else?
Well, it really is not hard once it's actually quite easy. I do it all the time. Is you take the problem and you say, the problem is usually point A to point B. We're stumbling in here. And then you get really smart people that have done that particular part. Let's say it's, manage a job site, right? So let's take all the really good people and say, we're going to break it down to 5 important things. And if you say this, if you do this, these 5 things only every single time, 98% of the time, I know it's going to work, because these are irrefutably perfect, right? You show up on time, you introduce yourself, because most headaches are communication, no doubt about it.
Like today, they did not call you to their company.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So, but that's true. It really is. That communication is always the bigger problem. So process is important, man. Especially in retail, because we are in the same place. And as opposed to the other side of the industry, which you typically have the salesmen, the project manager, and all this, even our insurance division didn't do that. They would sell it, and we would manage the projects, because we want them to be out doing what? The most important thing of any ecosystem in the world is what?
Sure.
Sales, revenue. It makes the world go round, man. You can't live without revenue. So if you could say the most important part of any business in the world is the revenue, the revenue stream, because it is. It's the only thing that matters. Everything else is a problem that you got to fix.
What I love about your story is that it shows that there are a lot of money in the roofing. There's great opportunities.
This is what made me scale. I will tell you the story. So we had a Hurricane Irma, I think about 4 or 5 years ago. It was a big hurricane. And I was only in Orlando and here, and we did, the year before, we were already a big company. I did $30 million, but this Irma came in and hit my 2 markets, and I doubled in overnight, did $64 million. And we did it, we added a lot of jobs. Obviously scaling is just adding more people to, to build it. And what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to let those people go. I didn't want to hire all these people in my backyard, right? And basically say, yeah, thanks for the money. And I was conflicted, and I was talking to him. I said, well, what do I do as a business person, right? I don't need to, I don't have the energy. I had 2 hurricanes back to back. We had we actually had a hailstorm after that. But so, my energy level from going out to grow and scale was low. My intent was I didn't have to, right? I mean, I already had this house, right? So, but I also didn't want to let these people go. They put in their blood, sweat, tears. We kind of have a theory, one win, all win at my company. So I wanted to figure out how I could, I knew I wasn't going to do $60 million in my 2 markets again, because it was inflated as a result. So he came in and said, well, we got to get into these other markets. And he started it. He said, you either can buy a company or we can merge with someone. And he started the exercise for me. And I didn't know enough about it. I mean, the crazy thing is when you're a president or CEO and you understand, everyone thinks you know everything about everything. Well, you don't. You don't know anything about anything, man. You just figure it out when it hits you. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's not like I have experience doing any of this. I've never done it either. So he was the first to explain to me, well, we got to scale. So when he came down, this was prior to the final one, he worked for 2-3 years, and we opened in Tampa, Jacksonville, Naples, and West Palm almost overnight, right? Because we had the people to do it. So he basically helped save these jobs. So he came in and we went from 60, and I said, man, if we can just do 60 again, I'll be happy. Well, we did 85 that next year. So it was honestly having someone who has professional business experience, understands law is his trade, but just what it takes is scaling, right? You need people, you need money, right? And but we knew the revenue stream, because that was the first thing he said. Can you do this anywhere? I said, man, I can do this anywhere. I promise you. That's how we came in.
This is so cool. I mean, think about it. The comment guys below what you think, give it a like too. It always helps our videos. But think about it. Someone goes and becomes a lawyer, and because we don't have in our country aspirations to be a contractor.
No.
Like, as a matter of fact, right now, it's our biggest problem. Nobody wants to go in trades. But when I see that lawyers and people like you who comes from financial world and start running roofing companies and service companies, this is awesome, because it's needed. If you do the study, if you study the market, one of the biggest needs and the biggest shortages now, it's labor in trades. I predict that HVAC contractors, plumbers, roofers, we're all going to be next lawyers on the pay scale. People will pay $100, $150 for skilled trade labor, because there's exodus of laborers. Nobody's going in, and it's supply and demand. So if you're on the crossroads what to do with your life, do what these lawyers did. Join the roofing company, and maybe you will be running it. I love how you said earlier that you were almost embarrassed early on.
I like to tell people, man, I've had a lot of business cards in my life, and the ones that I was the proudest of, meaning it was a prestigious firm or company, I didn't make a lot of money. And the ones that I wasn't as proud of, right, were I made a lot of money. And roofing is, it's blue collar. And I graduated college, and I would tell myself, I'll never, do certain things, right? You don't go to school. At least that's how you're programmed, or I was programmed as a child. So it was very humbling when I got into it. Consequently, that humility became the greatest thing that had ever happened to me.
This is awesome, because there's so many college educated people who make 50,000-60,000 a year,
exactly,
and paying off student loans. Yeah. And you have roofing salespeople who makes double that or triple that.
Yeah, that's what we like, and that's what we tell people. I mean, doctor money's doctor money. It don't matter what the title is.
So many people think that today it's much harder to enter the market because competition, and you already have a players.
I don't think so at all. No.
So same thing. Anybody can start. Anybody can build $100 million.
The product is the product. This is where people get really confused. The roof is the roof. It doesn't matter who gives you that roof. what we sell to people is the experience. The experience is what they go through while they're buying it or learning how to buy it or whatever that is. That's the most important thing. How thoughtful are you in that presentation? Are you communicating? Are you showing up on time? Are you available? Are you treat them as if they're your only customer? So that will never change. People always want to be your only customer. So as long as you understand the experience that we take our customers through will never change, right? So anyone can get in any time and says, I'm going to do a great job for you. That's what and when I started, even if someone knew I was new, no one cares more about you than I do. I'm going to do the greatest job in the world. And that's how you have to believe. And that's how we go into new market, because it's really the experience. And that experience is, do we answer when they call? You know, are we showing up on time? Are we professional? Are we leaving them the required information they need at the time? Are they ever asking us for anything? Do they ever have to call me to say, hey, I didn't get that email quote? No. Like that's your product.
Love it.
That's your product.
How important is the actual product that we install?
You got to have a good product at the end of the day. But again, a lot of us are using the same companies. So it really is, the product is the company that's installing it. The pride they take, you know, how thoughtful are they in the presentation of that?
Love it. Who influenced you the most in this business? Like, I mean, when you started, you had to take some
okay, that's a fair question. So I'm a scoreboard guy. I'm competitive. I was an athlete. Most of my sales guys are the same. I feel that like being competitive is a good thing if you use it for good. And at first I would network a little bit, and I would network through my partners, my suppliers, whatever supplier I was using. So I would do their events. And I remember going to some, and it was like an IRE, but it was a Florida one. And I thought I was, you know, big swinging guy, right? And then you would hear them talk about, oh, that guy over there, he does 50 million. And I didn't envy anyone. I just envy how they looked up to that person, if that makes sense. Like the envy they had, because he built this company. I'm like, well, I can do that. Same thing you had said earlier. Well, I can get that many reviews, right? Yeah. So to me, it was, I want to be considered the best. That I didn't know where the bar was. I was insulated. For me, I could always grow through math. I knew I could get more leads, and to me, it was a formula. I didn't look at anyone because no one had ever done it like I did. I mean, wow. How do you? I can't envy someone who's never done this. I'm competing with myself.
You're raising your own
I hate
bar.
to say. That's why I hate these. I don't want to sound arrogant, but like, who you know went from 0 to 100 in 10 years in retail?
Love it. Why do you like retail so much?
The reason I love retail is it's my best against your best, your best, your best, your best. Everyone in the world is on the same exact situation, and may the best person win. And that's where you got the best sales culture. You know, the best salespeople. You know, what's their experience? I just love that you face off against someone, and you win or you lose, but still, I like that part of it. I love the pure, raw, combative nature of it.
Well,
I love it.
I agree 100%.
I love it. I love winning. To me, when I was selling, I didn't care about the money. I never was about the money. It was winning. Like, that's the best part.
So that's what motivates you?
Yeah. And then when we were doing things no one had ever done, it's just like, well, can we keep doing? Well, why wouldn't we? And that's when I brought in an executive leadership team. A lawyer, a Harvard MBA was our CFO. Like, okay, they got here and they said, holy crap, you guys have something here. I didn't know. I was too busy just pumping the machine.
Love it. Can you name one of the most important processes in the roofing business without it that any business will fail? Like, I know you have many, but what's one process that absolutely key, that absolutely you have to nail down and you have to know it and you have to build it? Because there's, failure rate is so huge. I mean, like 90% of roofing companies fails like within 2 years.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
No kidding.
In 5 years, it's like 95%.
Well, if I'm telling new people to get in, I'll tell you this. The same thing I tell my sales guys. The more you talk about how a roof is built, the least your chances are. You don't need to be technical with people. Spend your time doing really good things, right? So,
like what?
So from just loving, just engaged, listening, being thoughtful. To grow, you need people, right? And to be a manager of people, you have to be able to put into people. That's usually one of the hardest things is like, you know, and you can tell if you know what a bad man, because I've had all kinds of managers, you have to understand. So as we're growing, we try to figure out the formula for all those things. And overwhelmingly, one thing that you cannot cheat on is that your people who are managing people got to be good people. They've got to care deeply about the people that work under them than they do themselves. So, man, I don't know if that's a process, but man, having really good, thoughtful people that care deeply about their employees, and it's almost the opposite of what people think. A boss is not someone who tells you. My leaders were guys that showed them, and you know. So I don't even know, man.
Just to hire people who, no, I love the answer. Hire people who take care of your people.
And better than yourself, man. Every single, I can say this, man. Everyone who replaced me was better at it than I was.
Well,
every single one of them.
That's the way to go. We have to hire people smarter.
Every single person was better at what they did than I was, and I took pride in that. I never pretended like I knew everything.
Love it.
Yeah.
Like, for you, when did you feel like you started working on the business, not in the business, so you were always working on the business?
No, it's funny. I remember it very well, very vividly. After probably 2 years, I did it myself, and I was doing all parts like everybody. My first year, because that's all the guy who, you know, my partner, he knew. You got to maximize profits by minimizing costs. So I'm running jobs, and I was really good at the selling part, but the managing part was just so consuming. So as I was scaling and finding that project managers work, I remember, because I had enough leads for myself, saying, I think I have something here, right? If I had time to work on my business and not sell or do all these things, I wonder what would happen. And I ended up calling someone I knew, and I asked, hey, I think I have something, you want to come sell for me? And when that happened, I knew that I would have to give up mine. Like, and that's the hardest part for a lot of business people is we know we can go earn our own, right? I can feed myself. But then you got to trust someone else to do your part of that, which is scary, right? I got to trust someone to know. And I didn't want anyone in sales experience because I felt like I really want to design it specifically for like this industry, and then how to teach someone how to sell with no bad habits. So that was the first time it was a family member down. I brought a brother-in-law down. I taught him everything he knew, and I had to do the hardest things. I had to give him my appointments, right? So I had to make sure that you want to build a good sales process, you give all your leads to somebody. You're gonna tell him everything he needs to know. And that's when I did, and that's when I first realized how data works. And I had all this information of leads, and then I could realize it wasn't, you know, I understood how to go get more leads is go talk to that newspaper, go talk to that other digital lead source, and take the time to really, you know, dissect it and see if they work. And quite honestly, that is when you will grow your business, is when you are forced to give up what you do in it, right? And you got to give that to someone. That's important. Mm-hmm. Then, you know, the giving what you do to somebody is really hard. It's the hardest thing.
So many businesses fail.
And they can't, and it's because but what I realized very quickly, they might not be me, they might not do it the way I did it, but honestly, if I don't hear about it and it's there, it's perfect. And I realized that I don't want to be a perfectionist because nobody's me. So that's when, and then my business doubled. I was able to double my leads within 90 days. I was able to, you know, create a sales platform that worked for our guys. Because I at the same time have energy and I have goals and I want to hit them. Now I got 8 hours a day to do what? Grow my business.
Wow.
Right?
No, this is so true. This identical thing happened to me, and the coolest thing for me was when my people were doing leads and doing sales, everything, and when the reviews were start coming in, and I reading reviews, I'm like, okay, I'm not doing it anymore.
It's still happening.
I don't know who these people are. I would read the reviews and I'm like, this is like, I used to know every folder, every name, every customer. Now I walk into my office. Oh. I don't know who these people are, but they were taken care of without me.
And you made money.
And I made money, and that's magic.
I remember, you know, my favorite part of that, and that's like you said, is when you do build a business that people actually call, that you're not paying for them to call. Mm-hmm. And I had someone in my office, and I opened the door, I said, listen to that, and the phone's ringing. And I'm like, they're calling me. You know, when I started, nobody called me. Nobody called me. Now they're calling me. Wow. That was one of the coolest things.
I agree 100%. When your business runs by itself, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
What's your work-life balance look like over the years? Do you have to sacrifice a lot?
No. Well, you know, I tell you, some of the people that know me best said I have a way of putting things on autopilot. I really worked hard at making sure everyone knew how to do their job, helping them build process, empowering them to make decisions. I think because I wasn't a micromanager, I was a decent manager, because my people took great pride. This is what if you go in deeper, man, when you talk about like success, it's when you put into people so much that they really work hard for you, like they wanna do well for you, like you allow them to. And I was good at getting amazing people that did everything and allowed me to have a great balance. You know, I haven't talked to a customer in 8 years. I mean, think about it. Talking to a ticked off customer, that's the worst thing in the world. I don't want to do that. I haven't had to do that in so long. And you know, when you do 200, 300 roofs a week, that's going to happen. You're going to have some, you're going to crack a few eggs. So, I always had good balance. I really did. I'm not going to say I was able to go do what I did without any day to day. I haven't had day to day in 5 years, unless it was to do with revenue, sales, and marketing. That's all mine. So if we brought in new salespeople, I'd always want to make sure I took the first day or two with them, just to kind of, teach them our culture, teach them what we're about, making sure that we're sending them out with the right messaging.
Who should be first employee you hire in business? You open the business today, file LLC, first employee you hire.
Oh man. A great salesperson is puts your business in a different place, but someone understanding the money, man, even more important. And all these things you don't know at first.
What about the receptionist answering phone calls?
Well, everything. There's so many things that you do, and we, you can put them into different categories. No, I would still take a revenue guy. I'd take a good salesman.
Good salesman.
Well, because think about it. They're creating the problem, right? If I have a great receptionist, but I'm not selling anything, it doesn't matter. I don't want to go back to selling. So we're building it without you having to do anything. I'm gonna put everything I do into the salesperson, because it trickles down. It's the creator of all things.
Got it. How much harder is it to find employees today in 2022 than it was 5-10 years ago?
It's easier now for us. I think the bigger you get, you go through phases, and then, first of all, when you leverage your employee family, you really don't have to work too hard to find good employees, because my favorite thing in the world, it was that, I would say 90% of our company for the first 8-9 years was coworker or family, friends, church friends. Everyone we knew, we all knew each other.
So they knew it's a good place to work.
It was, yeah. Like that's where if you really create that environment for people, you really don't have to work too hard, because they want to bring people into your organization.
How hard was let's talk about you selling the business. How hard was the decision, and why did you decide to sell? You love this, you build it, it's your baby, it's growing fast. Why sell?
That's a good question. Well, first we'll take a little journey, right? So first of all, everyone in the world thinks they have something of value that someone wants to buy, but very few people really do, right? Something of value is something that is a predictable revenue stream, right? Everyone in the world, I know so many business people that they think the value of their company is somehow related to something that means
their
nothing.
Idea.
Yeah, my idea. At the end of the day, it's a predictable revenue stream with a margin, right? Is there profit? Are they successful? Do they have process? So we never set out to do that, but in my journey to bring in the best business people, discussions start. And the first of which is, you guys have equity. You have a value, you have an asset, right? Which I never ever heard anyone say my business was an asset, right? Your business, I think of an asset as my house, right? Well, as your business is an asset if things are predictable. And this was the first time I heard that, which makes you feel good. You mean, what does that mean? Well, that means someone's willing to pay for it. Someone will give me money for a business? Like, everyone thinks that, and I agree. I think end game for a lot of people would be that, but you don't set out that way. So when you find out that your business has value that someone might find appealing, you feel great. It's one of the greatest senses of pride in the world. So when we set out, like all things that I do, as I say, I think we work hard on all things. Meaning we don't have one idea and plan in mind. We have all ideas. So let's keep them open. So as we were expanding, and we knew that we were an asset, that people started contacting us. So it started the process of saying, hey, well, if someone is willing to pay for it, let's at least entertain it. So it really was never something I thought about. It kind of just is given to you, and then you think about it. And you know, at the time, this is pre-COVID, or no, I think it's after COVID. So things got a lot harder when COVID hit. And the discussions became more real. So it didn't set out to do that, and then when you get into it, it was difficult. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, as you would expect. I mean, it really was. Emotionally, I would say it was as hard as anything I've ever done in my life, because I built it. Right, you build it by hand. To know that you don't have control over any of it anyway. So when you're going through the process of selling it, you're not in it. You're not in there going through charts and everything with people, man. There's lawyers and accountants that do that. You're helpless, and it's a tough process. But when you get to that point, and then you realize, man, someone's willing to pay a lot of value. So for me, I started thinking, okay, well, if I'm going to sell my company, how do I go through this process of not because I was already wealthy before. I mean, obviously, you know, more money is always great. So it wasn't necessarily the money. You know, if I'm going to sell, right? What is best for me, and what's best for everyone else, right? What is best for I think we had 250 employees or whatever at the time. So that's kind of the exercise I went through. And when you sell, I think selling a business is a good thing you should probably hit on a lot. I mean, it's very hard. Is you can sell in a lot of buckets. You can sell to friends. You can sell to people you know. You can sell to private equity. You can sell to Fortune 500 companies. Every single one of those is different. Mm-hmm. Every single one of those is going to treat you different.
Sell to employees.
Yeah. So for me, I had an exercise, and I really wanted to be very pragmatic about it. And I said, if I were going to sell my company, right? And I care deeply about these employees, which I do. Who do I think, or what entity gives them the greatest opportunity to be employed the longest, right? Who's going to be around in 10 years? Who's going to be around in 25 years? Who's going to be around in 50 years? Who's going to be around in 100 years? And that was the exercise I went through. And overwhelmingly, it came back to the company I ended up selling it to, because they knew about they were in our industry in a different vertical. Whether my name is on the company or not, but we're a version of my brand, be involved in roofing. I felt that it gave me the best opportunity.
So it's a long, I mean, you're part of something greater. A lot of
Yeah, I feel like if there is a change in the way business is done, that the DNA of the Total Home is. So
you are becoming the biggest in the game. Pretty much. I mean, that led you to.
We had a great vehicle. We have great employees.
Yes. You know, it's so cool you said it. So we have a Russian billionaire. So he took Capital One business model here from the United States, and he built online bank in Russia. So they were just pretty much giving you credit cards by mail. Oh. It's just like
take it.
Amazing business, yes. But he built it, and I was watching. There's a documentary about him, and he said he was reading complaints and reviews, like all the negative stuff, and they're like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you reading?" And he said, "Are you kidding me? Like, I'm reading complaints, I'm reading reviews, and there's products like we have built." Because we found them in the reviews, like people were telling us what they want from us.
And I'll take it further. Like, reviews are a big part of our business. I don't think they're as big as they were when we were really leveraging it.
Sure.
I think a lot of these platforms are managing that because they want to sell stuff. But I think a bad review is quite honestly the greatest thing that it helps you be. It means you are human. It means that I'm going to conscientiously try to fix that. That you're not afraid of them, but you also, now let me counter that. You know how many reviews we probably generated last year? Because I knew how important they were, that every one of my sales guys, we teach them, you need to be getting your own reviews. So we probably generated 25,000 reviews, because we understand, you understand relevancy. You're only relevant as new as your content is. So you need to build in both. You're going to get bad reviews. They're part of the business. New markets especially. Maybe today it's harder than it was. I don't know. I'm not day to day, so a lot of that stuff that's new to me. Probably wasn't that way when and it's business.
Sure.
So it's just part of it. Like, I used to love when I started, the guy said, I got no better business complaints. I'm like, okay.
Give me advice.
Advice. I don't give advice, man. You're doing great. I'll tell you, I respect the hell out of you. I'll tell you why. Because it's hard enough to come to a foreign country, right? Hard enough. Especially when people probably don't want you for whatever reason. You're different. And then to learn the language, which is freaking, I can only imagine how hard that is. And then you're not only that, now you're going to be in an industry where you talk. Like you are exposing your greatest weaknesses. And you're doing, I love people that face that kind of stuff. That's why I like Arnold Schwarzenegger, perfect thing. I mean, the guy couldn't say nothing. He's fearless. It's like, to be great at something, you got to try. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't give you any advice. Keep working your ass off, man. That's it. That's how you win. You just work hard all the time.
Love it.
Make sure it's in the right, going in the right direction.
Love it. Give advice to a roofer or someone who just starting a roofing company and it's their first year.
Man, loving your customers, love your employees. Because I would say love the customer first because they're going to keep you in business, and then love your employees second because they're gonna keep you in business too.
Love it. I have one favor to ask. When we're gonna air this video, I know you're very busy. I don't expect you to monitor comments later, but first 2 days, if you can come and read the comments, if people have questions for you, would you answer it?
Sure. I mean, if it's obviously, you know how I answer questions.
Of course.
If it's an appropriate question, I will.
Of course.
I don't want to hear how much did you make and what was the check. Like, I get that. That's cool. It sounds great. Like that's the sexiness. But I mean, that's no one talks about money.
Guys, ask smart question. What would you like me to ask? Because we're finishing this interview. We have to catch the flight, and I know you probably were watching it and have questions to Kevin. Comment below. Next few days, first few days after the video air, he'll come back and he'll answer it. If you ask good questions.
It better be a good question.
It's better be
Don't
a good
waste
question.
my time.
Thank you guys so much for your attention. Comment below what you think. Give it a like for Kevin. Thank you, man. It was awesome.